Most of the impossible labours that Heracles completed were done so through his strength and unnatural endurance. Yet the fifth labour marked something new, a challenge not just of the body, but of wit, cunning, and intelligence. When Heracles returned to Tiryns, he did so with scorn, dreading being paraded in front of Eurystheus' court in mockery. But this time, the palace gates remained sealed and guarded, with no sight of his sneering, cowardly cousin. The guards, without a word, pointed up towards the battlements where the herald awaited him. From the safety of his stone perch, the herald proclaimed the decree. Heracles was to travel to the land of Elis and cleanse the stables of King Augeas in a single day. But the implied simplicity of the task raised his suspicion. He knew there would be some cruel twist buried within that would make the labour impossible. And so Heracles set off on his quest, unaware that Eurystheus was listening, hidden within the ramparts, too afraid to look Heracles in the eye. Heracles journeyed towards Elis, pondering what trickery might prevent him from completing the task. But once he approached the city gates and saw the 3,000 cattle grazing in a field, he started to understand. But always trusting in his abilities, Heracles proceeded and entered the palace in search of King Augeas, hoping for once not to leave empty-handed for his efforts. He proposed to the weary king that should he succeed in cleansing the filth, 1/10 of the royal herd would be given to him as payment. Perhaps such a request was a sign of hope returning to Heracles. Looking beyond his servitude and the prosperity and even joy that may await him, King Augeas, doubting any man, not even the son of Zeus, could achieve such a task, agreed to the terms. But as Heracles saw the monstrous pile of dung within the stables, his confidence wavered. He now knew that this was not just the result of the king having so large a herd, but because the stables had not been cleaned in over 30 years. Desperate to breathe in clean air, Heracles walked to the nearby river, and inspiration took hold. A man may not be able to clear such a monstrous amount of filth in a day, but a river, the rapid force of nature itself, surely could. Heracles laboured furiously in the hot sun, digging huge trenches through the land to combine the force of the Alpheus and Peneus rivers. He dragged great boulders to redirect the currents, shifted pile after pile of dirt, and smashed a new entrance through the centre of the stable wall. With the sun slipping lower and the hours waning before him, Heracles removed the last mound of soil, causing a violent torrent of water to rush into the stables. The rivers surged, crashing into the filth, washing away 30 years of rot in a single, thunderous sweep. The putrid mess now flowed down the countryside, a cascade of renewal fertilizing the soils of Elis, feeding life where decay once reigned. Drained of strength but victorious, Heracles returned to Augeas to claim his prize. Yet triumph gave way to betrayal. The king, sly and defiant, refused to part with even one of his prized cattle. He stated that Heracles was a slave to King Eurystheus, and thus undeserving of payment for the task. Rage clenched every muscle in the hero's body, but he did not strike, not yet. Instead, he left with fury simmering inside, vowing one day to seek bloody vengeance on Augeas and his household. In a thunderous mood, Heracles journeyed back to Tiryns, but his restraint was tested once more. The herald, pale and faltering, announced that King Augeas had sent a summons, arriving mere moments before Heracles himself. The herald declared that by demanding payment for the labour, Heracles had violated his sacred penance, and thus the labour would not be counted. The simmering fire within Heracles finally erupted, cheated not once but twice in a single day, mocked by cowards, hiding behind stone and clay tablets. Something deep within him fractured. Without a word, he reached for his bow and unleashed 2 arrows in quick succession. The 2 poisonous tips struck the guards standing beside the herald, and death came almost in an instant. Panic spread like wildfire, but no retaliation followed. No one dared move. From his hiding place, Eurystheus rose towards the battlements, eyes wide with terror and disbelief. Heracles, desperate for vengeance, aimed at the cousin, who would deny him not once but twice, making his penance a mockery. But in that fleeting moment, reason returned. To kill Eurystheus would unravel all he had endured. All of his effort and pain would have been for nothing. And so, Heracles lowered the bow, turned his back, and walked away. All eyes clung to his silhouette as it faded beyond the horizon, dreading the day when the colossal man and his monstrous temper would return.